process and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if you could talk about this part right now, but I was curious about console performance, specifically Series X. Can we talk frame rates at this time, or we're waiting a little?
Well, I'm
not yet.
Probably not the best person to. Oh, sorry, talking off mic. I'm probably not the best person to talk about that. We can probably. We can probably.
Yeah, I mean, nitty gritty of it. Performance is one of the last things we figure out, right? We are core, and I think we've announced this elsewhere. We are core targeting 30 frames per second bare minimum. Like that's the expectation. It's a first-person single-player game. You don't necessarily need that 60 frames, and that allows us to get a lot juicier with VFX and lighting and all this other stuff. So it's a trade-off we opted to make relatively early, and we're really happy with that. I mean, the game's running pretty smooth for how visually dense it is, and that was always our goal. But as far as like a greater understanding of performance spec, we're still figuring all that out. It's one of the last things you do. So
you see what you done to me? You see what happened? The news of Avowed shocked me so much my head just went poof and it came all off. Maybe it should have surprised me earlier because it actually looked pretty damn good, don't you think? But anyway, thanks so much for tuning into this video. As you saw from the start of the video, it is officially confirmed. Thanks to Lord Cognito and his crew from the Iron Lord podcast. That interview was actually pretty damn good with Matty Plays and the team. It turns out that Avowed is going to be running at 30 FPS, and now they said that was a decision that they came to quite early on, even though they're saying that, performance is something that they look at as the last thing. This really should be factored in quite early on, and it is a little disappointing that Avowed is going to be 30 FPS. And just like with everything else, it's going to get a 60 FPS patch down the line. Personally, I'm questioning whether the actual move of Avowed is because of the congested situation that Microsoft originally said. I genuinely think that they jumped on the bandwagon. The community was saying, oh my god, there's so many games coming, just look at it, something's gonna have to shift. So they actually took that narrative that we as a community stupidly created, me, myself included, so I'm putting myself into that. It is a thing. I've been getting a lot of L's lately, but this one is definitely one of them. And they just jumped on that bandwagon and said, you know what, since the community is saying this, let's just, now we're in a good position now where we can say, do you know what? We can actually use that. Instead of saying we're going to delay the game, just push it out and say the thing. But I actually now believe that the game wasn't ready for launch come November, and that they needed that extra time. And you know what? I have no problem with the game needing more time if it needs it. I don't want the game to come out in a position where, at the end of the day, it's just not ready to be released. We don't want a broken game. No one wants a broken game. So if they need another 6 months to get this game ready, so be it. I literally don't care. As long as it's ready and the game that we get at the end of it is actually one that we can actually enjoy and play. That's going to be as bug-free as possible. I don't ever expect a game to be completely bug-free. I've worked in the industry. I know what goes into this. And even back when I was in the industry, I can tell you games were complicated. Now they're even more complicated 10, 12 years later. So, a lot goes into these games. A lot of things happen. There's a lot of variables. It's not like in the old days when, you got the games on cart. It wasn't as complicated as it used to be. And even then, bugs did exist, but at least now there's a chance for them to fix it. But my disappointment here is that this is the 4th title that's coming that's going to be 30 FPS for Xbox. And for a console that is constantly tooting that it is the most powerful console in the world, it's fine. Offer a 30 FPS mode, 4K, or whatever the highest resolution you can get it at, but just give us the option of a performance mode. Now, a lot of people often look at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and laugh at it because the performance mode was laughable, it was blurry at the time, and they had to go back and improve it within the first couple weeks. Do you know what? At least they provided a performance mode. I would rather you give me the option to play the game the way I want to play, as a consumer, because it's my money that you're taking, than not. If we're looking at PlayStation, show me a first-party title, regardless of whether it's a PS4 title, because I know a lot of them are cross-gen, which means they are actually, restricted by the PS4's capabilities. So that's a little unfair to be making that parallel. But the games that are PS5 specific, those games still offer a performance mode. even when you're looking at the new Wukong game, which the performance is all over the place, they still give the option of a performance mode. So why can't we, on Xbox, as the most powerful console in the world, have that option? We're not asking for rocket science here. If it can't maintain 60, that's okay. But give us the option for it to at least go to 40. People do have VRR TVs that they can use, so give people the option. But locking it to, I mean, this game will probably be locked to 30. You know, they've come out and said that this is a creative, strategic, a developer decision, and that developer decision is magically going to go poof and disappear when they decide that, you know, 6 months to a year later, they're going to release a 60 FPS patch. We saw this with Redfall. We've seen this with Starfield. And we're going to see this with more games. It's that simple. Wasn't it with Sea of Thieves? It ran on 30 FPS for 6-7 years, and then it gets a PS5 update, and then magically at 60 FPS. So why is it that they put the extra effort in when it's going to the PS5? Now, if this game ever gets ported to the PS5, do you genuinely believe it's going to be 30 FPS? I do not. It's going to be 60. So why do they get the better treatment than we do? Yes, we're getting the game early, so does that mean that we're beta testers for this product? No, I don't believe that at all. I just don't believe that they're prioritizing the right things. If you need an extra few months, take the extra few months and get it right. But I just don't feel like what they're doing right now is the right option. And yesterday, when I put that clip out, you know, I clipped it and I put it out, a lot of people came after me saying how, you know, I don't respect developers, I don't do this and I don't do that. One even accused me of being, you know, part of the reason that the studio could shut down. Can you believe that? Like, apparently I was cheering when Tango got shut down. Can you believe that? I was in stream yesterday talking about Firewalk and Concord, that how I'm upset that this could be the end of their studio, right? And I hope it's not. I hope it does well enough to at least keep them in a job. I don't want anyone to lose their job. But to turn around and tell me that, oh, because of people like you who want 60 FPS, studios will shut down. Are these people mentally insane? Like, are they genuinely mentally insane? I mean, just check some of this out, right? Just check some of this out. Phase shift. So as you can see here, this Dark Paladin, if you're still mad that the game's not 60, you obviously don't want the game to run well, and you definitely don't support the developers. Now, what has me wanting the better for the game, asking for them to do better, have to do anything to do with me, you know, not supporting the developers? You got this dude here having a go at me, but it was this one. He really was going to town because you refuse to let them make the game the way you want. And I keep telling him, right? Is this down here? We sure will, but the next time there's a studio closure, don't come on here complaining at Microsoft because the studio got shut down. Why is the game being asking for 60 FPS going to get the studio shut down? Are these people this mentally deranged? Like, good Lord, there's some severe problems here with these people. Asking for better as a consumer is your consumer right. Like, when has wanting better become a thing where you shouldn't be getting it? And then the dude quote tweets me and decides that he's going to get that as a win. Just check this out. I know exactly what I'm saying. You can't take away developer choice. It was a developer's decision to do this. Fine, and it'll be the developer's decision 6 months down the line when it's, you know, like Redfall, like Starfield, and even the Series S now runs. I've seen videos where it's running over 80 FPS. So clearly that creative decision isn't a thing. It's that they didn't have time to do it. Or they've decided that they're only going to go with one and specifically go for one. And whatever the reason for that limitation is that reason. But it is stupid. And I just don't agree with it. I think it's absolutely stupid. And I think at this point, things need to change. As an Xbox customer, you should be getting better. You should be demanding better. This isn't it. But continuously turning around and saying, we will take anything that you give us, O Lord or Savior, that is not how you're giving up your consumer rights. If this game ever goes to PlayStation, I guarantee you it will come with a 60 FPS patch. And then I want to see what this Paladin dude is going to say. Oh, well, it was a creative decision to leave it 30 FPS on Xbox, but it was a creative decision to make it 60 FPS on PlayStation 5. Is that how it works? So then I put forward to him, why don't they lock it on PC to 30 FPS? You know, they can literally do that. They can hard lock it within the code to 30 FPS. Why don't they do that? And he said, well, you know, PC's better hardware and this and this and that. So what he's saying is, the Xbox Series X can't do 60 FPS because of a creative decision, and 6 months later they can. I don't know. I'd rather they just came out and was honest and say that they didn't have the time to optimize, or they literally didn't prioritize it, because that is the actual truth. But to turn around and continuously use the same PR rubbish that is, oh, it was a creative decision, then 6 months later, or when it goes to PlayStation, you get a 60 FPS patch. That isn't it. That's not how this works. And as a consumer, you shouldn't be silenced by other people who are happy to run games at 10 frames per second, 20 frames per second. That is unacceptable. I'm not saying Avowed is going to be 20 or 10 FPS, but what I'm saying is these people would accept that and they would not air their consumer rights. I'm saying that as a consumer, I am not happy with this. And I don't think other people should. And this game, despite the backlash that Redfall got, despite the backlash that Starfield got, and even the backlash that Hellblade 2 got, and I know people are just going to say, well, that was a filmic experience, and they were joking about making it 24 FPS. I played it at 60 FPS on my PC. It ran perfectly fine. Now, I know what you're going to say. Dude, if you've got a PC, what are you even complaining for? The answer is quite simple. I work on a computer all day. I'm in front of my PC almost 10 hours a day when I'm working at work, then when I'm editing content, when I'm making content. The last thing I want to do at the end of the day is sit in front of my monitor and continue working on my PC. It's a psychological thing. I don't want to do it. I would much rather play on my consoles that I paid £500 each for before getting this PC. Right? That's it. It's a personal choice. Yes, you can plug it into your TV, but my PC at least in this property, is nowhere near where my TV is. There's no room for me to put it there, and I'm not going to have cables flying through the floor and whatnot. That's not happening. So it's not a case of I can't do it, I don't have access to it, and I do, and I will be playing Avowed, I guess, on my PC. But for the rest of the Xbox fan base, they should be demanding more. They should expect more. They shouldn't accept, an inferior product when in 6 months' time, a 60 FPS patch, or a year's time, like in the case of Starfield, a 60 FPS patch or more is going to come. I just think, Xbox fans deserve better. And sorry for asking for better for us Xbox fans. That's all I have to say on this. Right, that's it. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.